So we are recording this on a Wednesday night, just after Wednesday Night Dash. And if you haven't watched it yet, there's a lot to unpack. I'm DJ Flook.
I'm Eric Richardson.
And, well, if you watched Wednesday Night Dash, you would have heard my voice for most of the broadcast because iRacing crashed on me after the real crash on lap one. I got booted out. I came back in, I was 15 laps down, and I'm like, all right, heck with this. I'm done for the night. I'm taking last place. And
Hey, at
I'm
least you still got a point for it.
Yes, as my point streak continues. I'm like, I'm going to the booth. And then I saw Eli wasn't in the Discord booth, and I'm messaging him like, get in the booth, get in the booth. And finally he saw my message and hopped in, and I spent about 2/3 of the broadcast in there. Wasn't planning on it, but hey, here we are.
Yeah, it was I think, wild night to say the least, which typically is what Darlington brings, but not quite what we would think.
So I'm going to try to break this down as much as I can. We go green, and was it Tyler Vickery?
I'm not sure, as I saw somebody wiggle, and I'm just trying to figure out, where do I go?
He spun his tires and took out half the field. And I had my hand, I was in the back. I got out of there with a little bit of front end damage, trying to avoid a couple of the cars. And I had my finger over the yellow, debating if I was going to throw it or not. We have never stopped and restarted a race outside of a competition caution. And it was too much. Like we would start the race with like 3 cars, and everybody else was trying to get back on the track. I'm like,
I think everybody else was going to eventually have to pit and take damage repair and leave 3 cars out.
So I throw the flag. I said to the drivers, I said, I actually had my thumb. So I have a stream deck here that is off right now, but this button right here is my yellow flag. I had my thumb over it while I was kind of trying to figure out if I wanted to throw this or not. And then I pushed the button. I'm like, okay. And I get on, all right. And then I'm like, okay, I got to sell this. All right. I'm like, we're restarting that. We had our US 500 moment.
So I forgot to do something at the start of the race. I turned my chat off during the Daytona 24 on, I think it was on the Sunday section of it. I didn't turn it back on today. Oops. I realized it on the pacing laps when I couldn't change the chat channel.
Yeah, so we had that. Then as we were getting ready to go green again, iRacing booted me out. I end up having to reboot my computer. I come back, I'm 15 laps down already after not even making it to the start finish line on the first lap. And I'm just like, okay, there's nothing good that can come out of me going out on that track. And so I hop over to the booth, and Eli, he's by himself up there, and he did not join the booth channel that we have voice channel set up. And I'm messaging him, I'm like, hey, come to the booth. I'm in here. I want to join you tonight. And finally saw my message. He hopped in, and we bantered for the next half hour. So you had a good night. You didn't, your streak of wins is over, but
I didn't think I could do a Winstead and go for the clean sweep.
We were talking about that, and I said, hey, he's the closest, and it's going to end tonight. But that record is probably never going to be broken.
I don't see that happening.
It's like the major league record for pitching wins. never going to be broken ever. But you still, you remember what your incident count was tonight?
I was actually 8.
8? That's not bad. I mean, you had a few brush ups, so there were probably 0x brush ups, I would guess.
Yeah, officially I had 8. I think it was actually all in one thing. I might have been racing with Hunter or somebody, and one of us caught the wall and bounced, and I think that's what happened. I'd have to go back and look. If you count all my 0x's, it probably would have had like another 20. That's the Darlington stripe for you.
Yep. So we have that. So then relatively issue free. We had some wrecks, some bumps, some spins. Hunter had a couple incidents, and then
It's hard to get off turns 2 and 4.
it is.
It's very
And
easy for the car to step out.
I honestly, I'm part of me is glad I didn't get to run tonight because I had probably spent 3 or 4 hours practicing, and I was just either I was super slow, or every time I just tried to push it, I could not. I would always come out of two, just anywhere but where I should have. But anyway, we had some. So Mark Vickers restarted second after the competition caution. And we get to the Geico restart zone. Holton appropriately takes off, as he is entitled to once he enters the restart zone. The green flag is dropped. Mark is black flagged for jumping the restart, which I've watched the replay from 6 different angles several times. I do not see what the problem was. This happened to Bernard Pollard in the truck season, I think.
Yeah, it was trucks. I forget where.
It was it was a goofy glitch, but iRacing made a big deal about how they fixed restart black flags. And we were talking before this. We may have to turn off the restart zone, because this is twice now that we've had a race impacted where the second place car was flagged. But I don't know if Mark didn't say anything, or if I just didn't hear him, and he got disqualified. I if I would have heard him, or maybe I don't know if he said anything or not, but I'll have to go back and watch the tape. But I could have cleared it and he could have kept on going, because there was absolutely nothing wrong with his restart. So that's going to go to iRacing support, and I'm going to be like, what happened, guys? You're killing us. Don't pull a motorsport games on us. The gold standard for crap.
Yep.
But anyway, second place.
Yeah, I was actually worried. I saw him disappear, and I'm like, oh, he blinked. When is he coming back?
He just dropped out. We're watching it, and we thought he got disconnected. And I said to Eli, I'm in the Discord right now, and Mark is saying he got disqualified. And I don't know. I'm like I said, I'm going to take it up with support. We're going to find out what happened, and there's not much we can do about it right now. So, week off. Then we're going to go to Pocono. That'll be interesting.
Very good time for a little break here.
Then and then another week off, and then I don't know why we did like week off race week. I mean, the reason for the week off between Chicago was there was a couple reasons for that. But Daytona last week.
Yeah, fun times. Daytona 24 hours. And we were somehow still running at the end. Yeah, not somehow.
We mentioned Andrew Hewitt, who we had, when we recorded this last week, we had just met him. He showed up and he raced, and he did a wonderful job, and we're hoping he can continue to race with us after after that. We're trying to pull him in on Wednesday nights, and but hey, rough couple of moments there for all the drivers.
Yeah, and for the most part, I think it was just small little things. I think we each got dumped by another car time or two. I know I had, I think 3 just like, oops. And it's right on the edge to where if I'm 6 inches to a foot to my other way, then I'm just fine.
But and there was it was the 3 car in the split that every incident seemed to involve them.
The 3 and the 21, they were around a lot of incidents.
So iRacing posted some statistics about the event, and they had like 16,000 registered drivers, and what was it, like 84 splits or something like that. Massive
84 splits, 16,000 drivers, 4,191 teams.
And I said, how do you do protests for that event? I would love for iRacing. I would love for iRacing. I mean, under normal circumstances, when you file a protest, it's usually 3 or 4 days. you have an event that large, I'm sure there are hundreds of protests
What
filed for
did I
various
see? It
reasons.
was something like 2.5 million laps got turned.
Yeah, there had to have been
A
hundreds,
massive
if not
number.
thousands of it. I mean, from your standpoint, if somebody like did something really egregious to you, like they just rammed you on purpose,
Oh, that was
I'm
3 times in the bus stop.
I don't know if that was necessarily on purpose, but they, more just lack of skill. But I don't think they were deliberately trying to
No,
wreck you. But
no, those weren't deliberate. It was just what happens when you're in a low split.
yeah, and you have a bus stop and people miss their brakings, or, their braking point, and or they turn in too early or they come in too hot. And I mean, we saw in one moment where you lost it in the bus stop, and your rear wing fell off, and then all of a sudden it was back on there again like a second later.
Wait, where did that come from?
Yeah, Taco was in there, and I go, "Did you just see Eric's wing fall off and then magically pop back on the car?" And he's like, "Okay, good. I'm glad I'm not the only one who saw that."
You know, fun times. Mark, Hunter, and Andrew were awesome. Drove great. You know, I'm
20th place out of 48. I mean, that's
yeah, we'll take it.
you know what? If even if it was 45th out of 48, the fact you got across the finish line for the 24 hours is the most important part, in my
And
opinion.
we probably had what at least a half hour, maybe pushed an hour on required repairs. We lost a little bit of time. We were, I think, what 58 or 48 laps down. But with
You
all things
you
considered,
you
we
finished,
we ran. We were running at the end of 24
and
hours.
there are at least 8, maybe 10 teams still running that finished below you. So it wasn't like you were the last running car that was just kind of
No,
clinging on there. You were running, you were ahead of quite a few teams. But the thing I want to touch on real quick before we wrap up today, we're going to try to keep this relatively short. There were so many examples that I saw between your split. The leading team was involved in an incident. They were 2 laps up on second place. They were involved in an incident. They had to take a tow, and they withdrew from the event immediately after about like 17, 18 hours. At worst, I mean, maybe there was an hour repair. That there are definitely cases where that happened to teams. I mean, you never really had one more than 10 minutes, did you?
I think our longest was like 12,
Yeah,
12 or
okay.
13.
So let's just say worst case scenario, you take a tow that's like 3 minutes long. You have a 12 to 15 minute, you lose 18 minutes. You're like 10, 12 laps up over like third place. You're probably like
Yeah, because
15 to 18 laps over fourth place. The worst you come out of there is third place, and maybe just barely.
yeah, with the cars that we were running in the GT3s, like 144 to 145 were really fast laps. So it takes a while to get around.
Yeah, so I mean, you missed 15 minutes and you're running essentially just under 2-minute laps. Like you're still safely in third place. And when you're running in third place, you have 2 cars ahead of you. You've got one maybe barely ahead of you. You've got one that'll probably be about, I don't know, 7-8 minutes ahead at that point. Again, speculation. Stuff happens. Like just because you're running a flawless race doesn't mean you had your moment where you went across the grass and turned backwards and slid across and
And
scared the
that's one
crap
of
out of a
those.
car.
That's the example of just missing the mark just by a fraction.
Well, I
Caught
mean,
the
you
grass just enough and it unsettled the car, and I
and
got
then
a
you get
little
get
help.
a little love tap from behind, and we had our crash of the week, which again seems to do well. I don't know what it is with you and GT3 crashes of the week. They seem to perform very well, but I just don't get it. Like you just committed 18 out. Like, okay, so if you went in on the Friday night session, you got in an early crash, drop out, enroll, enter the next morning. Okay, so your sleep schedules are off. Now you're starting Saturday morning then. But this was the final.
You're in the
Like there
home
was
stretch at
there,
that
yeah,
point.
like this is it. Like you're in the home stretch. There's no other you just wasted 18 hours. It's not like even if there was one, you're not going to go and re-enter after 18 hours. And it's just, are you that competitive in a bottom split that you would rather drop out and instead of taking your repair time, getting back out there, finishing at worst third place, you're still on the podium. You're going to get your iRacing certificate for the event. And instead, this team finished in the 30s somewhere. It just blows my mind. Like, you just committed that much time. I mean, it's not like there was, I don't know. I just, it blows my mind that after spending that much time, you just, all right, we're done.
No, at that point, I'm gonna finish because for me, I'd just be stubborn. Like,
I
we are
mean,
staying in this, or I will stay in.
your car looked like it needed to be towed away to a junkyard by the end of the event.
Did
And you
we
know what?
ever
And
get a before and after on that car?
no, I don't. I mean, I have the replay. I'm planning on going. It was a 33 gigabyte replay file. Most Wednesday night sessions are like 500 megabytes, 300 megabytes. But yeah, it was a 33 gigabyte file. So I'm going to go through there and grab some clips and some screenshots. We'll get a before and after. Um, and then I'll send that to the recycle bin. But
Yeah,
the replay is on YouTube on the Stadium Scene TV. It was fun popping in and out of there. I'd like to drive in the event next year, but running the stream was a lot of fun. Bantering with the drivers. I don't do very well by myself trying to fill time. I never have, but bantering with somebody makes it so much easier.
yeah. I'm hoping that the way dates fall next year, I unfortunately got stuck and was away for about 10 hours. So hopefully next year it lines up to where I have a free weekend or only just a couple hour spot to where I can spend time, hang out in the broadcast booth and watch a lot more and be closer to the action, not just stuck watching on a phone.
Yeah, good event overall, a lot of fun, and I think we're gonna wrap this up today. So, what a
And
rough night.
yeah, tough night, but you know, that's Darlington for you, especially in these next gens. We're finding these
I
things are a handful.
I'm very curious. Highline gave their driver survey out. Kendall put that out the other day. The first question is, do you want to stay in the next gen cars or do you want to go back to Xfinity? They ran next gen for the first time last season, and there were a lot of complaints about driving those cars. So I'm wondering if there'll be a switch back to Xfinity this year. And part of me, like, do we do Gen 6? Do we do Xfinity as the car? I don't know. Whatever.
Yeah. Next race, Pocono.
Pocono week off, and we'll be back here next week probably. And we usually do take a week off when we're in a Wednesday night dash off week, but maybe something will come up. We'll talk
Yeah,
about.
where we can maybe start previewing Formula One, NASCAR.
Max Verstappen installing a simulator on his private jet.
We do have the Rolex 24 Hours of Daytona coming
Yes, I'm excited for that. I've
this
never been
weekend.
excited for that event before.
So, well, I think we could have some auto racing things to chat about if we got the time.
I did buy my Xfinity tickets today for the Phoenix race in March.
Oh, sweet.
So I'll be head. Yeah, it's such a great value. I mean, it's for the Xfinity race. I'm right just past the start finish line, and my kids are free. And we ended up doing pit. My kids loved the pit passes last year for the ARCA. Pit passes for kids for either the ARCA race on Friday or the Xfinity race on Saturday was $10.
Oh, go for that.
Yeah, $35 for adults, or 30 or 35, I can't remember, but it's still like $35 for a pit pass. They open the garage doors in the new track setup that you can walk right in, and they have like a guardrail that you can like almost walk up and touch the cup cars. So wasn't a lot of action. They were just kind of moving into the pits for the ARCA race on Friday, but there should be some more action Saturday because of they do testing before the Xfinity race. So we should, it should be fun. They have a kids area with games that my kids seem to really like, and we were standing there, and the driver of the tow truck that was taking wrecked cars off signaled my wife over, and he gave my kids these little like foam cars. It was like a little foam car with the tow truck company's name on it, and said,
That's awesome.
gave it to my kids. So, yeah, it's just the kids walk out of there with a nice little swag bag of all kinds of sponsor goodies, and it's just a great event to take your kids to.
Yeah, I think this year I'm looking at going to the Michigan race. Finally getting back to a cup race.
I'm debating what I want to do about that this year. I'm not taking my kids to a cup race. They just can't sit still. But for an Xfinity race and going into the pits, it's fine. It's a fun experience. So anyway, I said we were gonna wrap like 5 minutes ago. I'm such a liar, but you should expect that by now if you've listened to us before. So
Well, thanks
on
for tuning in.
FR Racing Online, at FR Racing Online, FRRacingOnline.com. You can kind of see my wheel stand over here. I have the monitor mount for it sitting up against the wall, and I may or may not have purchased a monitor today.
I won't say anything.
Well, she doesn't listen to this show, but there's going to be a giant LG box showing up at the door on Friday. I don't have a lot of space over here, so I went with the 34-inch ultra wide. I was measuring to see, could I fit a 49 here, and it's just like, no way, that's absurd. So it's it's a pseudo rig, but it'll be nice to permanently do this instead of coming over and just shoving it under my desk every week and pulling it out. It's just
Yeah, that'll help.
I'm looking forward to a more permanent setup. So shout out to Extreme Sim Racing. Got the hat here and the logo down there. So shout out to them. They make some awesome products. I think very reasonably priced too.
Yeah, I'm excited to get to shopping and picking up something here soon too. Pick up my own racing rig.
That's right. We're gonna shout out to Extreme Sim Racing. This is still the coolest hat. I keep saying I'm gonna wrap this up, but the bill of this hat, you've got Interlagos track map on it. I assume that's where this is, but they've got the Extreme Sim Racing, some kind of car. I'm not sure what kind of car it is, but I've never seen that on a bill of a cap before. And then it says Extreme Sim Racing on the under the hat. So
yeah, I like that.
Awesome hat. One of my
Rogue Energy was a
Hydrate Spark
boost for
Hydrate Spark
24 hours when you're racing in the middle of the night. And
I had my player one coffee. Did not get a new set of tires on there, and we still need to make a 2023. But I've been meaning to say, when you come out here in May, make sure you bring your jersey here, because we're gonna do like Ricky Bobby parody like videos of like ad reads and photo shoots, just stupid photo shoots. So look forward for that in May.
We got like 1,400 miles of racing to watch, so we're gonna have time.
And Mark will join us for that day.
That'll be fun to have him over too.
Yeah. So FRRacingOnline.com and FR Racing Online. Thanks again for watching.
We'll see y'all soon.